a strategy. And you know what? I hate to say it, but the board, you guys out there are proving it that it's working. I've heard comments of people wanting to they're picking up all the Dark Reign books. They're picking up all the Dark Reign
But these
tie-ins.
aren't even the tie-ins. These are the mini-series.
Yeah, but they're again, it's a
understand
completist thing. You slap that logo on there, and fine. Although, let's be honest, DC was a little bit guilty of that during the whole Final Crisis, was it? Or was it Infinite Crisis?
Final Crisis.
Remember the Batman books, different Infinite Crisis tie-in? We were talking about that.
Yeah, but
nothing really happened in the book.
And some of them, right?
Yeah, but both companies are guilty of that.
But there's one that's just
Marvel is
just,
pretty
you
much
can't miss it.
It's pretty blatant, and to have something this. I mean, this is just overwhelming when you think about it. Mm-hmm. 39 books on one day from one publisher. Out of all the other 52 weeks in a year, they had to put all those books on this 1 week. It's just astounding. It's just simply astounding. And it just smacks of crass, calculated commercialism. Mm-hmm. And again, people are going to say, well, why are you criticizing Marvel? Marvel's just doing their books. It's their job to sell as many books as they can. Well, you know what? For the sake of argument, let's just say for the sake of argument and a hypothetical, let's say Marvel Comics were the only company to publish American comics. Would the American comics industry be as good as it is right now?
No. I don't think it would be a comic industry anymore.
Because
the case.
If capitalism says anything, going from purely capitalistic point of view, competition is what makes success.
Do you know that, really quick, as I'm thinking about this, in Japan, all of the main publishers, manga publishers, they actually all get together and have meetings and talk about what the industry is missing and what it's lacking. And then they all talk amongst themselves about who's going to pick up that slack over here with this comic or this genre. And they all work together. Uh-huh.
Instead of trying to choke each other out.
Like, can you imagine the head editors at Marvel and DC getting together every 6 months and talking about how to strengthen the industry? Can you imagine? That just blows my fucking mind. That would never happen in this country.
No, because they can't stand each other. But yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that speaks to a different culture, though, and we've already talked about that. Whenever we talk about manga, it's a completely different culture.
I understand that. But
American culture is different.
Japanese comic business model, that's how you should be doing it.
Right.
I mean, when you hear that, that makes sense. That's what they should do. But it would just never happen here.
Well, yeah, because
everyone's got fucking egos out their ass in
no,
this place.
but mind you, we have talked about business models in other countries, too. I mean, the Japanese auto industry is not the auto industry that's hurting right now.
Exactly.
Okay, it's the American auto industry that's hurting. Fiat is going to be buying out Chrysler or General Motors or whatever. I'm just saying,
Chrysler.
Because we have this idea in our heads that the capitalist way of doing things and every man for himself and the strongest survive is always the way to do it. We want to believe that, again, the American version of capitalism is the best form of capitalism. We allow ourselves to get into these death spirals, and industries are suffering from it. I'm afraid, and again, this is being, I know I'm doing it. In a way, I'm doing the Chicken Little Sky is Falling thing right now. I mean, comic books, aren't gonna. It's not like people are going to be in bread lines when comic books collapse, but. This is, in a way, as we said before, a little bit of a microcosm of what's going on in society and in the other industries as well. And it's sad that we can't seem to learn from what other companies are going through and what other countries have already
we can't even
learn from.
Can't even learn what happened in the fucking 90s when this industry collapsed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that. The 90s was this big boom. And then an implosion. Booms and implosions. The thing is, every boom is smaller than the one that preceded it, and every implosion, every contraction is a little more painful than the one that preceded it.
And getting back to cannibalizing your own customers, so you have all that Dark Reign stuff, but then you have these Marvel books coming out this week: Guardians of the Galaxy, Nova, Incredible Hulk, which are all some of their best written books. But those are the books that might be on the chopping block because they're not selling.
Because
and on top of that, you have the last issue of Iron Fist coming out. No one's going to be buying that stuff if they don't have enough money for it because they're too busy buying the Dark Reign shit. So there are your next 3 Marvel books that are going to get canceled if this continues. Nova, Guardians of the Galaxy, Incredible Hulk.
Which goes back to my point. Marvel is choking itself. It's choking out some of its own titles by putting out so much stuff that, quite frankly, I don't think warrants it. I mean, you have a lot of mainstream Marvel titles right now that, you know, that you could be telling these stories in. But they're not, for whatever reason that might be.
Well, Marvel learned the lesson that from Civil War. This is the Civil War model, just made even bigger. It all started with Civil War. Civil War had the same stuff, and ever since then, Marvel's had one storyline, huge storyline after another with no break.
No break.
And then each one has all these miniseries, and they're and it's what you talked about when they raised the price. They're just, they're getting it out there, and they're pushing it. They're seeing how many they can do before they actually start losing money. And that's exactly what's happening with all these books. They're pushing all these out there, and every major storyline that's going on, every event, they're putting more and more product out there, pushing it to see how far they can stretch your money, and see how much more money they can get you to buy.
I just had a terrible analogy come into my head right now, but it's kind of like this. You're on the couch with a pretty girl watching TV, and you start pushing it. Will she let you, put your arm around her? Then when she lets you put her arm around her, will she let you lean in on her? And then will she let you put your hand here and put your hand there? And you're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until you find out that the comic company's screwing you.
Yeah. Well, it's no surprise to me I'm getting screwed by the comic companies. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, that's a sad state of things, and we'll see how this week goes down. I'm sure it's going to be a huge Wednesday here. It's going to be a huge week, but it's going to be one of those things that people might start thinking, I really got to start, picking and choosing what I buy, because that's a lot of fucking money.
That is a lot of money. And Variant Girl writes a column about that too. It's really, I don't mean to sound didactic or even sound trite, but really, you guys are the ones who make the calls. I mean, comic fandom, you vote with your money, with the money you spend. If you're going to be a creature of habit, if you're always going to be the hamster that runs the maze to get that piece of cheese, guess what? You're always going to be running that maze.
And when these videos go up, these last rants, I would like to get a lot of your opinions on who's watching this the week that it comes out, because it'll be the Wednesday that just passed. I want you to tell us that if you just thought it was a regular Wednesday, or if you really did feel overwhelmed by the amount of Marvel stuff that was out there. I would really like to know that. Maybe it's just us, but I'm sure I'll be noticing it all week here. And I like to get your opinions, and just like when you go there, you're like, God damn, this is a lot of fucking shit that I don't want, but it's taking up all this space.
Yeah. It's another social experiment. They're doing it. I'm telling you, we've already told Marvel that we will buy $3.99 books. We've done it. Sorry, folks, we've done it. They raised the prices to $3.99. Not only did the books keep selling, they were among the top 5 sellers. Top 5. That was kind of like we rewarded them for raising the prices on the books, is what we did. Now, are we willing to get as much crap thrown at us as we want, costing as much as it possibly can? Will we accept that? I'm curious to see what happens.
Me too.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. As always, we look forward to your comments, your feedback, and video responses. I'd like to see some of those too. So, until next time, this has been Elliott Serrano and Jose Melendez from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Hope to see you again.